Will speak about the root of growth in finance sector, both in Turkey and the world, and how the new technological developments will shape the future of the sector. We have established the exchange market, and we embrace our national values. Our exchange market developed in 1985. It was named as the Istanbul Commodity Exchange Market. In 2013, it was changed. It was actually collaborated with the golden market and the real estate market under the name of Borsa İstanbul. Borsa İstanbul is among the biggest commodity exchange market in the world. In 2013, with our vision of making Istanbul the finance hub, a capital transformation program has been initiated, and the technological transformation project has been initiated, and Nasdaq was deemed as our strategic partner. In order to moderate the session, I would like to invite General Manager of Şekerbank, Mr. Servet Taze, with your applause.
Hoş geldiniz Sayın Taze.
Welcome, Mr. Taze. Our panelists, the Chairman of the Board and Executive Committee of Borsa İstanbul, Himmet Karadağ, General Manager of HSBC Turkey, Selim Kervancı, Citibank CEO, Serra Akçaoğlu, Halkbank CEO, Osman Arslan.
Bütün panelistlerimiz
We would like to wish a successful session to all of our panelists.
Evet, değerli konuklar, değerli panelistlerim.
Distinguished guests, distinguished panel speakers, welcome to our banking and finance session. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers of this event, Capital and Economist magazines. As the business world, as the finance sector, we are gathering a few times with the regulatory boards or the economy authorities. We are gathering, and the business world is also doing the same thing. But when we have this quartet structure, this is a great event and a significant event which is bringing us together. And we are very glad and very grateful to Rauf Bey and Talat Bey, all of the employees and all of the organization committee. We really would like to thank you. Since from the morning, we have listened very good panel sessions. We have had very good presentations, either in our country or in our region and all around the world. There are some unclear situations and some opportunities which we have touched upon. And those unclear situations, how we are going to stay behind and how we are going to protect ourselves and how we are going to make use of the opportunities. Either our Deputy Prime Minister or the representatives of the finance world have made an evaluation. In this session, we will be discussing that the world is rapidly digitalizing. And as Borsa İstanbul and as finance business, where we are right at the moment, are we far beyond or behind? And what are the extra things to be done? And in this competing ground, in the future, what will be the advantage? What we can do, what are the opportunities, what are the risks? We will be discussing it with our panel speakers. And I would like to pass my floor to Himmet Karadağ as the chairman of the board and executive committee member of Borsa İstanbul. Borsa İstanbul is a national and international representative with its technological infrastructure, pioneering institution for our country, and a very visionary approach you have. in the near future, with your visionary approach, when you consider the integration with the world, many implementations are taking place. BISTEC is one of them. And in 2018, it will be fully in action. My question is as follows, Himmet Bey. All around the world, there is a presence of digital transformation. And, of course, the type of the companies within the markets are changing. And Borsa Istanbul is in the very middle of this stock market, stock exchange market. Where does the market lead to? In Turkey, when you think from the perspective of Borsa Istanbul, when you place it side by side with the worldly companies and institutions, when you compare and contrast, where are we in the competition ground? Borsa Istanbul's present debtness, how will it be proceeding? Would you please share the present situation with us? Thank you very much. First of all, Rauf Bey, and the organizers of this economy summit, I really would like to thank you. This was a very beneficial meeting, event, and very fruitful sessions we have listened. And it is so lively continuing despite the fact that it has been delayed. I really would like to congratulate the organizers. On the technological side, we have started to develop ourselves. On the media side, if I start from the media side, data sales incomes in the last 5 years with the biscuit transformation increased a lot. And of course, it brought us forward, and we are still proactively progressing. BISTEC transformation, when will it take place? It has already taken place. In our stock market, it is present. And all of the technological transformation has totally been completed. And software and placing on live test and on live process is still in progress. It won't be before the end of the year we will complete it. Maybe in the end of the second quarter, our technological transformation will fully be finished. This is the infrastructure investment. We do have the stakeholders, and these stakeholders will also achieve this technological transformation. Not only the Borsa Istanbul's technological transformation, there are some intermediary institutions. Their infrastructures are not staying the same. So all of these hardwares and software structures need to be revitalized, restructured. With the algorithm and collocations, algorithmic trade and collocations, we are changing the system. Of course, we are having complaints from the market. Technological transformation is such kind of a thing. Like it resembles the shopping malls. After the popularization of shopping malls, that neighborhood shop owners were complaining the economy is so bad. They were checking the macros, because if you are looking at the shopping malls, the growth is very good, the macro level, they are very good, but there are some complaints at some certain points, we were saying. Now the classical traders are complaining to me. HDF order, it has been like this, we've had such kind of things. Where are those algorithmic data are going? When we look at the technology level, we have come in a 1 second of a 100,000th of seconds, it is possible to give an algorithmic order and possible to pass the money. So the time is very crucial in your activities. In the zone that we are actively involved, timing is very important. We are carrying on a platform. It is very important for our investors. I always say that a word which is going out of the mouth of a politician and the economical outcomes and the orders may make someone to profit millions of dollars. A Fed chairman's or a central bank's declaration before coming to Ankara and Istanbul, as it is being declared in the United States with trade system, with algorithmic system, it is transforming into an order and the profit is being realized by our investors. There is no escape from that. When I have started the stock exchange market for the very first time, they were speaking something about herif, that man thing. Herif is that man. What is that man is doing? He has earned a lot of money, they were telling. When we looked, the manipulation office has just inspected the situation. The investor, I won't be sharing the name, that man, that investor, trading mechanism was not problematic. Everything was very normal. There was a movie, Mask. He was stopping time and moving rapidly, and he was slapping everyone, giving a carrot in the hand of someone. The people were getting surprised. Our classic traders are now, besides algorithmic trader and algorithmic trade, if you have the right order in the algorithmic order, and if you have the right trade at the right place, it is possible to get a high level of profit. Stock exchange market and also the regulatory bodies should follow this situation. If there is an illegal operation, it needs to face with a penalty, but there is no such kind of a thing. They are just taking the product which they may make use of. After having the profit, they are selling it. At the moment, as Borsa İstanbul, with BISTEC technologies, we are trying to do whatever the world stock exchange markets are giving. So we are ready as an infrastructure. All of the components of the business, step by step, with slow and certain steps, we will be acting in accordance with our capital market depthness. So we need to keep that depthness. Now the 10% level is very close in HDF and algorithmic orders, and we are aiming to reach it to 50%. Newly, in the field of fintech, the investment will be increasing, and in this field even, we will be having new companies which are being introduced. And as Borsa İstanbul, within this year, we have catched a very good concept with Boğaziçi University, Istanbul Technical University, and Istanbul Commerce University. In the field of fintech, we are going to establish the first thematic technopark in Bursa, and we will be placing an investment project there. And Borsa İstanbul, in the field of shares, in the emerging market, according to the emerging market stock exchange markets, in the stock exchange and market cap, we are in a very good position. 2016, 2015, it was $3 billion as the trade volume, and nowadays it is 9-10 billion. With the liquidation band, the investors who would like to get in the market is providing a security when they're entering and also exiting. And with the index, for the probability of security offerings, for example, public listings, it is providing a secure ground. And we are looking how we can contribute to the companies, how we can keep into consideration the needs of the companies. We have revised the structure. In big-scale companies, the debt has got a leveraging effect. With a smaller amount of capital, it's providing you to earn more. But in some certain industries, EBITDA and activity, if it is sustainable, and our friends are having a lot of debt, and they're having a lot of foreign investing funds. And this leveraging effect is bringing them to the negative figures. If the scale is big, we are recommending those companies, let's transform it into equities, the values of the company in the future, within 10 years, within 15 years, in the cash flow for the companies who are not able to see the positive after the public offering, after the security offering, will be changing their profit figures and their cash flows. And when we carry on this operation in 2009, we have taken very positive results. So both the company bosses and the majority shareholders were happy, and also the smaller scale investors were happy from the situation. Of course, our stock market is not being graded, and it is, of course, the security offering is above 80%. The foreign investors do show a great interest, and we would like to keep the interest of the foreign investor more, and we would like to bring more loyalty and equity options, and also creating incentives for the company employees and innovative products are our main objectives to provide to our customers. And new businesses, new industries, new fields and new products are trying to communicate with the capital market. So we will be in front of our investors with new products. We studied our local homeworks, and full integration is about to be completed. From now on, all of our economy and the needs of our companies will be provided, and the products will be tailor-made, and we will be also making amendments in the regulation, and the sector and the demands of the companies will be taken, and we will be revising ourselves in accordance to their needs. We are ready for that. At this point, I will be closing my speech here, and we may continue with further questions. Let's continue, if my colleagues let me. I would like to repeat my second question, which is directly related with the first question. You have mentioned, since we will be speaking about digitalization, within this framework, we spoke about our infrastructure in the local market and in the external market. Borsa Istanbul has got a very visionary approach, and you are fully integrated with the world. It is a forthcoming principle for you. It is reflected on your volumes also, so there is increasing trend, and there is a very good development. In 2016, in 2017, we have passed through some certain crisis situations, and this has made us to decline in the public offerings. In the morning, our Deputy Prime Minister has just presented 144 in Turkish liras. When we look at the total picture, even including the forex, credit ratio is 127. So we need to make use of these markets more actively. 2016 was much more better. In 2017 again, we have faced with another public offerings. But in 2018, how do you see it? When we look at the first quarter, we see very successful public offerings. The figures were very high. We look at the pipeline. At least 10 companies do have an application. This year seems to be much more better when we look from our side. What do you think? How can you comment on this issue?
Well, we have to have that kind of an approach. In the morning session, Deputy Prime Minister actually mentioned to those topics. That's why I didn't elaborate on it. When we take a closer look to the indicators of the macroeconomy, we have seen that the 2017 was a very good recovery period. In 2018, both in the European side and also in the United States side, the economic recovery is quite strong, and this will have a huge impact on our markets. When you take a closer look to the African markets, the Middle East market, and the Russian markets, there is a positive outlook once again. And when we take a look to our macro economic realization, I believe that 2018 will be recovering once again. When I speak like that, everybody is criticizing me whether I am just presenting a pink picture or trying to support what the government says. Well, 2017 macroeconomic figures are being compared with the 2016 realization, and the same will be done for the 2018. When we look at the macroeconomic indicators, starting from 2017, we are not expecting any aggravating indicators, and this is the same issue for the tourism sector and the manufacturing sector. And based on the different markets, we are not seeing any worse indicators, and this is actually something sufficient to be positive. Since there is not a suitable environment for the IPOs, we didn't collaborate with the companies. Our main focus in the quotation was, unfortunately, that I actually visited all of the businessmen, and what they said was something very appropriate. They were looking for 2 years or 3 years of profit. So for such companies who do not have any challenges, the bosses do not like to sell their companies. The small investors can actually win, the boss can win, so there should be a win-win model. With the recent changes, we were able to reach out to this win-win situation. Our IPOs actually give a positive projection for the majority shareholders. When we analyzed 2016 and 2017, the main problem was the sustainability in the finance. The foreign exchange risk and the interest rates, because high interest rates of the credits, unfortunately the financials of the strong companies became even fragile. What we are offering to them, let's give us this opportunity to actually make your foreign exchange risk manageable so that the finance can become the job of the CFOs rather than the bosses of the companies. And that's what we did in 2017. And with thanks to that, in 2018, we started IPOs with the extent that we desired. In their financial charts, those companies were quite strong, and they were preparing RFS tables, and they were also enlightening the public, and those companies were actually quite strong in terms of fulfilling their responsibilities. And many of them has funds in the international institutions. Ms. Serra is also with us, and Citibank, for example, provided funds to this relevant company, and we said that let's turn this resource into an equity. So you know the company, you know their financial charts. When you convert borrowing to the equity, bank will earn because the valuation of the company will increase, the risk of the bank will decrease, and the small investor will earn as well. So with this win-win model, a lot of companies are preparing themselves for the future. So what should we do? We should the IPOs are going on with the foreign demands. We actually flexed the quotations, but the internal market should be much more deeper. And we should be actually making the regulations much more flexible. I was also criticizing the previous president of the capital market. I mean, just think about a meal. Even the cook cannot taste it. The marketer cannot taste it, and you are just presenting it to be bought by the investor, and the investors are not willing. So the company is coming to the IPO, and I am asking them, how many employees do you have? And they say 5,000 or 10,000. I mean, if you actually believe in the product, then your staff should also buy it. We have to regulate the abolishments. Nasdaq is my actually strategic partner, and 90% of its salary is going to the share option, and he actually believes in the IPO and buys shares. And I am speaking with the CEO of Migros, and only 5% or 10% of their salaries and their wages are if they buy their shares of the company, and then this company will be so much sensitive, and that the the loyalty program, which can actually expand the shares, should be implemented in the future, and in the upcoming years we will focus on that. The foreign demand is very high to the Turkish shares because they trust Turkish shares, because the rating institutions are not giving us the investment grades. Although this is the case, then why there is an increasing demand coming from US and Europe? Because our return on investment is quite high. 2017 return on investment was over 47%. I'm speaking with the private equities. For dollar-based private equities, actually the profit rate is going up to 18% and 20%. So our economy is on the right track, and the foreign funds can actually analyze this, and they are investing on those financial markets. So in order to establish the balance, the internal demand should be oriented to the financial markets, and that's what we are going to focus on. Well, thank you very much. With the eradication of the legislative barriers, the structural reforms hopefully will give us the good news in the future. Mr. Osman, I would like to ask a question to you. 2017 was a fluctuating year. It started with a downward trend, and afterwards with the precautions taken by the economic authority, including the credit guarantee fund, there was this upward trend. And in this period, the financial sector actually grew, and it was the best growth with comparison to the periods of 2010 and 2017. Of course, when we say the credit guarantee fund and its impact was so important, when we say this, first of all, the SMEs comes to our minds, and Halkbank also comes to our minds. And when we say Halkbank, we all of a sudden think about SMEs. We are also an SME bank, and 50% of our portfolio is comprised of the agriculture and the SMEs. But when we speak about the loans for SMEs, we have seen that Halkbank was very active, as it was the case for our other banks. Inside of your balance sheet, when we take a look to your growth, you were also present in big projects. You are also active in the commercial banking, and for the individual credits you were also present. But for SMEs, you are one of the actually pioneer banks. The credit guarantee fund is actually going on and proceeding, and maybe certain actually transferred of those credit guarantee funds will be used in the future. But with credit guarantee fund or without CGF, you say that you will be focusing on the SME. So my question is as follows. The Turkish banking sector in 2018, what do you think the Turkish banking sector will be making investment, and from which sector do you think finance sector will attract investment, and what Halkbank thinks about it? Thank you very much, Mr. Servet. Once again, I would like to thank the participants for staying that late in order to listen to us. As you said, our bank is an SME bank, and Halkbank is actually celebrating its 80th anniversary. I mean, our bank has started its business not with the SMEs, but with the micro enterprises. And Halkbank today has approximately 1.6 million of artisan tradesmen. And this is actually the core part of the SMEs, which is even smaller than the SMEs. And the tradesmen and the craftsmen are really important, because in the past we had many tradesmen in our streets, barber shops, and etc. So Halkbank is a very strong bank and has a very important actually infrastructure for the tradesmen. With its warranty structure, Halkbank actually supported a lot the SMEs. And these credits are being given to those SMEs with the treasury support. And approximately 1.6 million of our tradesmen have been supported with our loans, and they survived actually with our credits. Since we have such a comprehensive portfolio of tradesmen, these tradesmen can actually grow their business and can become an SME. We have this customer portfolio, and we are focusing on the SMEs and then the tradesmen and then the industrialists, and we of course want to make them exporters. Of course, each 1.6 million tradesmen cannot become industrialists and exporters, but of course the majority of those tradesmen can actually benefit a lot from this SME banking. In Anatolia, we have thousands of branches, and we have our own marketing model, and this enables us to get to know our SMEs. That's why we are very strong in the SME banking, and this is, by the way, not a very easy actually sector to maneuver. As you said, in 2017, the loans with the Credit Guarantee Fund has an important impact for the development of our economy and the growth of our economy. And as Halkbank, we became the bank which gave loans with the warranty of the Credit Guarantee Fund to our SMEs. Of course, we would like to thank the Treasury and the CGF, Credit Guarantee Fund, who developed this platform. But of course, CGF was not the sole warranty, and in that regard, there was this 7% of limitation. Of course, it was not like a 100% warranty of credit, but it actually brought about actually a very good revitalization process, and it contributed a lot to the development of the SMEs. The banking sector in the recent year actually grew with the SME banking. In the recent years, this slowdown in the infrastructure development, but the completion of the infrastructural development in the banking sector made us think that there will be a good competition, especially in the small and medium-scaled enterprises, and the banking sector will, of course, allocate their investments to these parts of the sector. So we have to attach significant importance to the SMEs as the Turkish banking sector, because we believe one of the most important problems of the banking sector is the lack of savings and the capital accumulation. Well, the saving ratio of Turkey is quite obvious, and important steps are being taken. Many of the people are actually keeping their gold under their pillows, and it is expected to be about $100 billion. And we have to actually recover those idle resources. So if we can actually recover those amounts, all the same, we will not reach to actually a European bank saving ratio. So if you want this sector to grow, first of all, there should be an economic growth, and the SMEs should actually do great leapfrogs. And they can do this if they can export. So we have to convert our SMEs to the exporters. For example, the city of Borsa is a very good example where we organize our meeting. Each year, Borsa is exporting $14 and $15 billion of export, and they are importing $9 billion. So each year, Bursa, the city of Bursa, has a surplus of 5 or 6 billion dollars. If he actually has 5 billion or 6 billion dollars of surplus, this translates into the 10% of our current account deficit. So as the banking sector, we have to develop new applications in order to open our SMEs to the global markets. With different e-commerce platforms, we are communicating, like Alibaba.com. Amazon in the near future will actually be operational in Turkey, and our SMEs are producing very good products. And by preventing our SMEs to fear from the global competition, we are trying to integrate our SMEs to the e-commerce platform, and we want them to do trade in those platforms. And by promoting that, we are trying to facilitate their way of selling products to the global market so that we can actually increase our national income and grow our economy so that the capital accumulation in the banking sector will increase. Of course, it is important to recover, actually return the savings into our economy, but by promoting our SMEs, which can produce value-added products, then we can do trade even to a further extent, and then we can also actually attract the resources which is needed for our economy. Otherwise, we are all saying that we are in need of further resources. So as the banking sector, we should convert our SMEs to become exporters, and as they become exporters, they should also manufacture value-added products, and we have to promote this notion. Otherwise, I don't believe that there will be another solution, especially in the short term. Of course, education matters, research and development matters, and we, of course, have to advance our educational system so that the educated people can do trade and can manufacture new products so that they can actually manufacture value-added products and sell them. And in that regard, I totally agree with your comment. As a sector, we have to support SMEs, but we have to plan when we support them. When you take a look to the first 10 banks of the Turkish banking sector, 90% and 95% of the sector is being managed by these 10 banks, and we are the 5th biggest bank in Turkey, but we are doing the similar job actually. So we have to be specialized. Startups, entrepreneurial capital, high technology, for such kind of different fields, certain banks should be specialized. And one of our biggest actually gaps is that the macro policies should be adapted into our internal structure. We are speaking about women entrepreneurship. We have good banks who are actually active in this sector, but unfortunately these projects are only stayed at the PR level. But if we can actually produce good products for the women entrepreneurship, then we can be successful. Otherwise, we cannot actually involve our women to our economy. So we are also in need of specialization. So each bank shouldn't do every job. They should do the job they know it very well. And this is the same issue for the real sector. And as the banking sector, one of the problems that we are facing with is that for example, if a company is active in the textile sector, they are all of a sudden penetrating into the industrial sector, to the construction sector, although they don't know it, and they are asking for financial resource from the banks, but our resources are not limitless. When we give credits, we also have to take this credit back with an added value to our national economy so that an efficiency will be established. And apart from that, we have to produce resources. $400 billion, and with $500 billion of deposits, it is not possible for us to carry our economy to the higher points. So that for the development of the capital markets as the banking sector, we should also contribute. A lot of banks have, for example, real estate ventures, and we also have a company, and we will, for example, construct the general headquarters in Istanbul, and for the first time we will actually use sukuk. So we will create an alternative financing model. Both in the capital markets, we will be able to attract the foreign investments and we will give priority to them. And if we can use such kind of instruments altogether, I believe the banking sector will grow even further and our SMEs will be supported even further. And by doing this, our SMEs will be opening to the global markets. As Halkbank, this is our mission. And we develop special products for SMEs. For example, 2 days ago, we came together with the SMEs, and for the automotive side product industry, we actually developed new products for loan for 10 years without 3 years of prepayment. And Halkbank is quite special. And defense sector, for example, is a very strategic sector. The development of the local defense systems should be developed, and for this sector we are also developing special products. So specialization areas should be defined. If we can do this, then we can actually contribute to our national economy in a much more efficient manner. Thank you very much.
O kadar güzel ve akıcı.
It was a very fluent speech, really. You have explained the situation very detailedly, and the second part of my question has already been actually answered. So 55% of the export is coming from SMEs. So every bank do have a different mission. And actually, Halkbank, whatever we said for Halkbank, may have a contrary example, HSBC and Citibank. When you look at their structure, SMEs and also companies, it is they are mainly concerned about the corporate structures, club bonds, and also the treasury. When we look at the treasury borrowings, they do have high level of missions, both HSBC and both Citibank. Selim, my question is to you. We do have a very important development in Turkey. I don't know whether it's found a place, enough place or not, whether it has been discussed enough or not, has been taken into the agenda or not. In the month of November last year, United Nations Climate Congress has got 2 commitments from HSBC. They committed that by 2025, low carbon emission zones will be my investment fields. I will be financing those zones. For the areas which do have high level of carbon emission, we won't be present, they said. As HSBC, all around the world, by 2025, we will be using renewable energy by 90%. By 2030, all of our energy sources will be basing on the renewable energy, and we will be making use of the low carbon emission zones they committed. And we are speaking in some business meetings, and sometimes in between, in some friendly chats, we are discussing it. I know that the core team, you are trying to get more shares out of this $100,000 to Turkey as much as you can. You would like to take a big share from the pie. When we look at the low carbon emission, we are not an oil country, and in coal we do have a certain capacity. In geothermal, we do have a huge potential. In wind energy, we do have a potential. In solar energy, we do have a potential. And also we do have the recycling sources. But renewable energy, we do have a huge potential. Even we do have the waste gas, stack gas. which we produce energy. We know from the ongoing projects, from this pie, how we are going to take a bigger share, what type of innovative financial solutions we have. I know there are some, a limited group knows about us, so what are these new methods? Thank you very much. First of all, Rauf Bey and his team, thank you very much for organizing such kind of an event. As you have told, climate change and also the changing conditions are highly being discussed. As you all know it very well, 195 countries have undersigned the Paris Treaty. And with this treaty, the global climate change will be limited with 2 degrees Celsius. If we cannot achieve to this level, the climate change will have a huge and negative impact on economies in different fields, especially in the field of agriculture, energy, and tourism. And in order to reach this objective, 150-year-old habits will be changed, are obliged to be changed. And the factories, buildings will be having low carbon emission, so they need to decline their carbon emissions, and power plants and transportation should give up using the fossil fuels. And besides those, it is bringing the need for an investment for the infrastructures. So they are becoming forthcoming. And by projecting the future, it will not only be bringing efficiency and contributing to the growth, but on the other side, it is going to provide a low carbon emission. And it is, of course, bringing an additional cost. According to the researchers, by 2030, low carbon economy needs $100 trillion of investment. And this is a huge, incredible amount. And according to our researchers, as HSBC, the corporates, 60% of the corporates are passing to the renewable energies, and they are supporting the low carbon emission projects, and they give importance to such kind of investments, and they are triggering and increasing the number of their supports, and this is playing a crucial role in their decision-making process. Okay, the financial side has gathered a lot of responsibility. Servet has just mentioned what we have done as HSBC. However, this is something that we are crucial about. We give great importance. By 2025, $100 billion of a financial fund will be allocated for the technological investments, and low carbon projects will be supported. And we do have this commitment. And $1 billion of the bond issuance has taken place. We issued the bonds, and they are going to be used in the financing of renewable energy projects. It is not limited with our own country. On abroad, we also give great importance, and we are pioneering some initiatives. For example, the first operation in SEMEA region, Central Europe, East Europe, and Middle East region, including Turkey. In this region, we have allocated $300 million of a bond issued for TSKP. And for the sustainable project, they will be taking place. And Basel III type of project, which is composed of $300 billion, has been allocated, and we have seen a great interest. The third operation we have carried on, other than supporting the Industry Development Bank of Turkey, in Elazığ, we financed a PPT project, an Elazığ hospital project. $270 billion of the bond has been issued with 20-year maturity. Since from the morning we have discussed the banking business and the credit growth, and we have spoken about the limits. In Turkey, when we look at the banking business, the total share of the credits loans is 63% in the total percentage. In the global trend, and in the developed countries and developing countries, this is the highest amount. As a result, at this moment in the capital market, we need to pioneer the growth, and these operations will not only be enhancing our operations but also to reach the targets of 2020 and Paris Treaty commitments. It will be contributing a lot, and we will be increasing our activities, and we will continue our operations in Turkey. I'm looking at my watch and I'm really afraid from you. Digitalization, technology, and Citibank. When I pronounce those three words, if I take your comments, it will be taking 3 days. Really, you are one of the leader groups. You are one of the leading banks. You are present in more than 100 countries. In the developing countries, in the least developed countries, and in the developed countries, in every field about digitalization, you are competing, and in all of the markets, somehow you are transferring this know-how. This digitalization is just one of those know-how features. I'm looking now, the technology companies are working as if they are a bank. Fintech example, for example, very easy and has got a huge participation accessing and also providing loans. And the technology company is also providing some services of the banks, and the banks have been also the provider of some technical services, and Citibank is acting like that without having any bank account. From mobile device to mobile device, it is possible to transfer. Citicoin, for example, is a very good example of that. My question is as follows. You are present in 100 countries. You're in the most competitive zones. And where is the trend right now? Where are we going through? Since you have listened all of the world, you do have an idea, an opinion. Digitalization is rapidly evolving, but there is a traditional side. In the villages, in the smaller cities, digitalization is very rapid, but not as rapid as the metropolitan sites. So there is also a necessity for a traditional approach. Since you are a bank which is active in 100 countries, where does the curve of the banking business is going to? And what will be the impact of this digitalization process for the future? I would like to thank economists, I would like to thank Capital Magazine, distinguished audience. Thank you very much for listening us until this hour, and our panel speakers. It's great to be with you. You said 100 countries. Explain everything about us. What is Citibank is doing? Especially this term, all around the world, is a changing and evolving time, and night and day we are working for the changing needs. The models have changed all around the world. As Citi, we have done this, we have done that. So instead of describing that, we are aiming to target a different place. What is changing all around the world? What is important? The speed is very important, and the costs need to decline, and automation is gaining importance, and the companies are aiming to carry on their operations on a trustworthy platform, and they would like to reach and access all of the people all around the world. Why do we have blockchain? What was the need for that? When you analyze it deeper, all of those features are present in that product. In the past, some of the companies have declared in the media, big giant companies have carried on their bond issuing via blockchain. Another trend is, our chair Hüseyin is here. He is closely following ongoing operations. Big data and artificial intelligence has gained a great space in the world. What is this? the banks in the past. What were we doing in the past? We were going to a company and we were selling them credits and we were selling them products. They have moved to a different way, different platforms in the new banking trends. Needs to analyze the data in detail, and by making use of the artificial intelligence methodologies, after analyzing this data, we need to bring feature projections and feature solutions. We need to create feature solutions. This is another trend. And besides that, fintech companies, there are very distinguished fintech companies, and the banking system is not seeing fintech companies as a competitor. We are seeing them as a collaborator. We are seeing them as a partner. So as a result, wherever the banking system is going, when we look at the way the companies are present, obvious, all of the supply chain, we are not in the middle of in the center of the ecosystem. So it is not possible to speak about Citibank all alone. I would like to speak about the companies. And in the near future, the success of the companies, their profitability will not be the only main source. How much we could bring them to the world, how much new export markets we could open them, how we could represent our country, how we could be the part of the supply chain, how much share we could take from the big pie, how the Turkish companies could do more export. Himmet Bey has just mentioned that Borsa İstanbul and the Turkish companies have attracted investment. Enerjisa, for example, is a great example. 4.6 of an investment demand. So the companies are competing with each other. Everybody is trying to attract an investment. And one company from our country is attracting 4.6 of this investment attraction ratio. Could we get this attraction? A single company has just attracted this attention. So in the develop, we do have 2 minutes. So I will try to make the wrap up as soon as possible. So the ongoing trends from now on, pointing out the fact that which country will be taking the biggest share from the pie, which country will be taking the biggest share from the export activities, and which are the institutions, either fintech or the banks, what type of an ecosystem will be supporting these initiatives will be forthcoming. This will be the latest trend. Thank you. I would like to thank you. We do have very limited time. Since we have mentioned 100 countries, we do have an experience in trade finance. We do have representatives from the banks union. We do have some bank representatives. When we go each of the companies, we are going 30, 65 countries and doing export activities. They state that. And you're involved, and HSBC is involved in such kind of interactions. I have a different question for Selim. You are present in more than 100 countries about this trade finance. In order to increase our export activities, in order to introduce these customers to these new markets, what actions needs to be taken? There is a trend, and there are some trends that we follow. Are there any innovations, and how actively we are making use of them? Would you please make a summary of that? I will be very glad if you can acknowledge us. We need to see one point. It is not easy. We are involved in an unfamiliar market. You are going there and you're learning the legislation and regulation and the banking system there. And what is this secure ground, secure platform for the banking business? So we are trying to cope with the situation. And we are trying to communicate with our customers and create a mediation. We are trying to bridge them with our customers. Our biggest market is Europe. There is a huge potential, but there is also potential in Africa. There is a potential in the Asian market. And of course, these are not very easy markets. For the unfamiliar companies, they are not easy bites, but there is a huge potential. If you can understand, if you can comprehensively understand countries, and if you can see the banking solutions in those countries, you can achieve it. We are trying to be a mediator between the companies and the countries. Previous weeks were very busy. Some companies are coming to us in Kenya. We would like to have a video conference with our general manager. They say we are creating a teleconference, and with China, with Singapore, we have carried on such kind of activities. There is an opportunity to carry on. In Exim Bank has got a great operation in Turkey, and as the banks, we are dealing with the global trade. It's such kind, you cannot dance alone. Everybody needs to dance together. So this is such kind of an atmosphere, such kind of environment. With their profession, with your value to be added, you need to be involved in the process. Citi is present in 100 countries, and it is Exim Bank has got a value to be added by placing itself in different places. So in the near future, there will be a huge competition, and in this competition, with the automation and with the close relationships with the countries, we need to work very closely and collaboratively. In the last 5 minutes, we will finish. Osman Bey responded to half of my second question, and now in CEO Club and in different press meetings, Osman Bey, you mentioned this several times. You have spoken about the expansion of SMEs to the global markets. Digital platforms will be implemented day by day. You mentioned that you do have a traditional understanding of banking. So when you combine those two forces, is it a good blend, or when you look from the traditional side, do you expect to see a shift on this side? Of course, we expect to see a shift.
Şimdi biz tabii ağırlıklı olarak Anadolu'da örgütlenmiş.
Of course, we organize ourselves in the Anatolia and for the SMEs. And on the individual side, we are working on the people who receive pensions. But of course, technology is becoming independent from the age. For example, many of our retired people are using our ATM and our mobile applications. And in that regard, I don't think that we have a lot of advertisement problems, because 95% of our transactions are being done out of our branches. And we also want this digital platform to be used by the SMEs, and on that regard, we have ongoing activities, and we have to reduce our costs. And in that regard, the studies are ongoing. But since it's my term, I also would like to mention a different topic. As the Turkish banking sector, we have to improve our organization in the foreign countries. Well, the Turkish banking sector developed a lot inside of Turkey, but especially the big banks in the Balkans, in the Asia, in the Africa, they don't have any organization. As Halkbank, we are the fourth biggest bank in Macedonia, and we actually accomplished it, and we are still developing our position with the acquisitions. After Turkish banks started to operate in the Balkans, the businessmen actually went there. In Serbia, we have acquired a bank to the amount of $20 to $25 billion and 25 million euros, I would like to apologize. And by increasing our capital by 14 million euros, we will be increasing and developing our position. So such kind of openings should be done by the banks, because if you like our businessmen to be operational in the foreign countries, then the courageous Turkish banks should go. Ziraat Bank, for example, in Turkmenistan, in Bosnia and Azerbaijan, has its branches. There are potentials, and when we can do all of those, then we can actually open ourselves to the global markets, and our businessmen will have a better opportunity to work in the foreign countries. The digitalization is going remarkably. No bank will be out of it, and as Halkbank, in addition to our current business models, we will try to use digital platforms. Last word, Ms. Serra knows it very well, and as Halkbank, we have close relations with the Citibank. In the morning session, Deputy Prime Minister also spoke about it. Violence and terrorist events are increasing in the world, so financial regulations are actually becoming much more concrete and much more radical. To whom we are selling products, the products that we are selling are abolished or not, and whether they are actually subject to a sanction or not. So such kind of issues should be tackled, because we are actually such a bank that actually suffered from this situation, and we are actually regulating ourselves, and the companies who are operating in the international markets should be aware of those international risks, and they should be collaborating with the international law experts. That's my recommendation. Thank you very much. This is going to be my last question.
Aslında Osman Bey öyle bir konuya giriş yaptı ki
because Mr. Osman mentioned to such a topic, and I will ask my question to Mr. Selim. The biggest development project is defined as such of the 21st century. One Belt, One Road project. And in the Gulf region and Asian region, retail sector, service sector might be actually penetrating into those areas, and there is a huge demand of improving these sectors. What kind of opportunities this project will provide to Turkey? Let's discuss this and end the session. Especially in the recent years, Turkey was attracting the foreign capital from the European markets, from the West. But in the recent years, the role of Asia increased with regards to foreign investments. For example, Koreans entered to the solar panel project, and a Korean company actually entered to a tender for Çanakkale Bridge with a Turkish company. But China is quite remarkable in that regard, and we actually give a lot of importance to the Chinese corridor. Asia is our mainland, actually, and a lot of our profits are coming from Asia. And this One Belt and One Road project is the last century most important development project. And I can divide this project into three subcategories. The first one is investment, the second is trade, and the third one is the finance part of it. Of course, the aim of the China in this One Belt and One Road project is to dominate the 66% of the total population and the 35% of the global trade volume. And within this project, actually 60 countries are involved, and Turkey is one of those countries. When you take a look to the investment side of it, lots of opportunities are present in the energy sector, telecommunications sector, infrastructure sector, and health sector. This includes the Chinese companies' investment in those countries and the Turkish companies' investment and its opportunity of investment in those countries. And with our presence in those countries, we are speaking about those potentials to the Turkish companies, and we are trying to show them those potentials. And the trade is the other pillar of this site. $1 trillion was the trade volume of China with those countries in 2017. And in the upcoming decade, China is aiming to increase that volume to $2.5 trillion. And I believe this will create a huge potential to the Turkish companies. And we are speaking about these potentials in different platforms. In November, we had this Turkish conference in China, and Over 100 Chinese companies came to that meeting in order to listen to the Turkish economy. As Ms. Serra said, every bank should actually focus on the fields in which they can be successful with their investments. The third pillar of this project is the finance part. I believe in the financial part, Chinese market is actually presenting very important opportunities. Undersecretary also spoke about it. If we can actually succeed in that, our companies and our banks will be able to attract finance instruments from those markets. So in the upcoming years, China is a country that we should not ignore, and it presents a very good opportunity. And as HSBC, I believe we are the right address. Thank you very much, Mr. Selim. We would like to thank to our panelists for their valuable comments, and thank you very much to our participants for listening to us. We would like to thank to our panelists and to our moderators. Distinguished participants, today has ended, and we would like to thank all of our moderators and all of our participants. At 8 o'clock, we will have this gala dinner, which is organized by the Sokar Turkey, and starting from 10:30 in Grand Yazıcı Chalet, we will have an after party. Have fun.